Hello and welcome to this video where we talk about SEO hosting for WordPress websites. We will go through a list of the top recommendations that I found and use myself for WordPress hosting. Over the years, I've been in the SEO industry for almost 9 years and I've used so many different hosting solutions. So I thought this would be a great video to make you hopefully save some time and potentially also money that you might otherwise waste on hosting solutions that are not really built for search engines and not really built for WordPress. So let's dive right in. My number one recommendation here is Cloudways. They start with a price of $10 per month, which they say you can host only one website with, but I have tried about 5 to 6 different websites, no problems on one server, if they are not too big applications. So it is very affordable to start really if you divide the $10 by potentially 3 to maybe even 5 websites. You're also looking at $2 to $3 per month. And really the speed is what convinced me. In my view, their speed is absolutely class leading. And towards the end of the video, I will go into some tips how you can speed it up even further. Their support is also very important to me because I run an SEO agency. So I need to be able to speak with their support if there are any issues, and they're generally very knowledgeable. Availability is 24/7 and they always help me out. So that's the reason here why Cloudways has gotten a 5-star rating. Other options, I am also working with clients who are on WP Engine, so I'm very familiar with their service. We're breaking this video down into the professional tier, and then we also have a lower budget tier. So for professionals, these are the main options that most professional SEO agencies use. Now, the reason why I don't like WP Engine is because their speed, well, it's excellent to medium, right? It's just so-so. Whenever I have moved websites away from WP Engine and moved them to Cloudways, and these were big e-commerce websites that I've moved, they actually got a lot quicker once they were on Cloudways. And I've used a service from GTmetrix to test every day. I believe GTmetrix can test up to every 5 minutes the speed of the website. And once we moved it to Cloudways, we could see the graph would go down and would get a lot quicker. So that's why for me, it's hands down Cloudways over WP Engine based on those tests. Kinstar, also had clients on Kinstar. I find their dashboard a little bit finicky and confusing. Just the user interface that they have created was not great for me. And the experience when you're migrating websites to Kinstar has also not been outstanding for me. I really like the Cloudways Migrator plugin, where you simply type in the destination URL on Cloudways where you want to host that new website, and it does the whole migration for you. And you're basically left with a fully working WordPress website now on your new Cloudways server. So that's why I've given them 5 stars here for the migration part. However, Flywheel is also quite decent in the migration department, just not so good in the overall speed department. So the guys at Cloudways have done a really good job of optimizing WordPress for speed, in particular big e-commerce websites, right? If you have a very simple website, then probably you won't see that massive impact on speed. But if you're talking complex WooCommerce websites, for example, those will really excel on Cloudways, and perhaps also more complex general landing page style websites. All right, so then let's jump into the budget tier. So I would only recommend playing or thinking about this tier even if you have absolutely no budget whatsoever pretty much for SEO hosting. You can see these start here at $2 per month, some even for 100 gigabyte SSD. So you can host a lot of websites here for $2, but you also get what you pay for, right? These are not super fast. Oftentimes they're not as secure and not as reliable. The support is not as good. I can remember times when I tried to talk to SiteGround support and they had changed their system to make it extremely hard to access the support, obviously to save money. Which is not what I want as a professional agency, to basically struggle to even talk to anybody. So I would consider, even if you are thinking about the budget tier, consider if it would be more time saved if you move to something like Cloudways and didn't go to other websites like SiteGround, because on SiteGround I also had a lot of websites that have gotten hacked, and the security that just didn't seem up to par. Where I understand the security is largely also part of the settings that you set yourself inside of WordPress, inside of the security features such as HTSS headers that you can set that can block some cross-site scripting attacks. However, there's also quite a lot of things that on the server side that they can do to maintain the security, and I always felt that was not really good on SiteGround. But if you absolutely must move to a low-budget provider, I would recommend SiteGround, because I'm an active customer of Hostinger, and they are definitely 1 or 2 tiers below SiteGround, both in terms of the speed. I have found them to be generally slower, and their server reliability have also been offline a lot more often when compared to SiteGround. This is my take on the best SEO hosting. Now I want to give you some extra tips on how you can speed up your WordPress websites. So in addition to what we've already talked about, I like to also use a tool called Cloudflare for my DNS hosting. So it's a DNS hosting platform, and once you have your DNS with Cloudflare, you can do that on the free plan. You can then sign up for a tool called Cloudflare Argo, and Argo is $5 per month. And what it does, it finds the fastest route to resolve your domain name into the IP address of your server. So let's say your domain name is domain.com, right? What your browser needs to do, it needs to translate this domain into an IP address, which is, let's say, 95.this.this. You get the idea. So this is your IP. And then from this IP, there needs to be files requested. So let's say you load the logo.jpg file. This would be the first file requested in this example. And now the time to first byte, TTFB, this time to first byte is largely affected by your website server and by your DNS. And so making sure that you use Cloudflare as a DNS provider, make sure that that domain name is really quickly translated into an IP address, and then the download of the very first file can start very quickly. So this is where it helps actually having a good DNS provider, because I've seen 1 to 2 seconds in loading speed just being lost on the time to first byte, and that can be helped and improved by Cloudflare Argo. There is an additional variable usage cost to Cloudflare Argo, so it's $5 plus the usage that you have. If you have 1 million visitors, it's going to get very expensive. I could see you paying maybe 100, 200 USD just for Cloudflare Argo. But if you have like 5 to 10,000 visitors, you're probably just paying maybe 10, 20 bucks for those visitors. So the kind of return on investment that I've seen from Cloudflare Argo has been really good, and I enable that for all of my websites. So to check out what your time to first byte is, you can come to speedvitals.com/ttfb-test, pop in your website. We have tested here apple.com, and now you get an answer in terms of the TTFB, how long it took to resolve. So I have tested this website right now from Spain myself. So we could see that if we are located in Paris, it takes 26 milliseconds to receive that very first byte from the web server. That could be that JPEG image that I have just talked about. And now, if you're in a different country, let's say it looks like in Germany, it could take up to 199 milliseconds. All of these are pretty much still acceptable. Ideally, in the country where you are located, you want to have a time to first byte of 50 to 100 maximum. Where it gets problematic is if it takes half a second just to connect your domain name and start loading files, right? That's kind of the range where you start saying, hey, this is taking a bit long. Let's move to Cloudflare to improve that time to first byte. And that has worked for me every time. And then for hosting, I use Cloudways, where I have a discount code for you here. If you use code MARKSEO, you save 25% on the first 3 bills. I am a customer of Cloudways myself. I've got about 100 websites with them, and I'm also an affiliate of Cloudways. So you know that I recommend the tool that I use myself. And now, quick tip for you to actually troubleshoot if your website is loading slowly. The best way that I found is to look at the performance overview report here in GTmetrix. You can then see if you have any CLS issues, blocking time, and also the largest contentful paint. And you also have the time to first byte TTFB metric down here provided by GTmetrix. And now to actually start improving, I recommend you come to the waterfall, and I'll make this bigger for us. And here you can then check, right, what are the files that are really slowing me down? So Apple has done a brilliant job here. This is their homepage of all things. They've done a really brilliant job slimming their homepage down, where they are just loading 11. In the bottom left here, you can see 11 files, which are JavaScript. So I've just filtered this for JavaScript. That's a really small amount of JavaScript to load for a homepage, which is fantastic. It makes this loading so much quicker. So it looks like they have one analytics JavaScript and a couple of other things. So have a look. How many JavaScript files does your website have? I've seen up to 100 JavaScript files, which can be a massive issue. In total, Apple just has 57 requests here, which is really great. Then CSS, they only have 8 CSS files. Really amazing work that they've done there to just load 8 CSS files. And then images, they have loaded 22 images. We can probably even see what these images are. See, yeah, perfect. So have a look at this waterfall and see what it is exactly that's slowing your website down. Fonts is another important one to check out. Here, Apple has not done such a good job. They've actually loaded a lot of different fonts. Ideally, you would not need to load any font if you're using something like Arial, which is pre-installed on everybody's computer. In that case, you could save that loading time completely, but try as much as possible to reduce the number of fonts that your website uses, because each one adds to the loading time. And you can also see here the total blocking time. So there is some blocking time inside of the fonts because the browser is actually waiting on other stuff before it can load those fonts and continue loading other things. So this, when you hover over it, looking at the brown area here, which is the blocking time, is quite important to check that out as well. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful to speed up your WordPress website. Let me know if you try Cloudways, if you're already a fan of Cloudways, or even if you're using anything else. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. This was Mark from Ecom Experts.